Alright, everybody. We are back with another episode of Thoughts with DonL. Episode 2 now. The first one's like a prologue, the second one was like episode 1, and this one's like episode 2, of course. Today is a little different because we are not drinking, except a little bit of the H2O, if you will. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing all right tonight. Filming a little bit earlier than normal, just because they got some things to do tonight. But yeah, so tonight I think we're gonna talk about my dad, my father, if you will. Gonna kind of dive into the story of him. I know I talked about him, I think in the first episode or whatever, and I said that this would be an episode later on. So I figure tonight would be a good night to dive into that whole thing. So yeah, I guess we'll get started with that. But yeah, so hopefully this one won't be as long as the first one. Last week was kind of short; it was like 20 minutes. So this one will probably be like anywhere from like 30 to so minutes, I'd say. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So my dad, where do I begin? I guess it all starts from when I was born. That'd be a good starting place, I guess, from when I was born. Yeah. But yeah, he was. I think he was excited about having me. You know. It was I'm his first and only child. I do have a brother, but he's my. We're like half brothers, I guess. So yeah, I guess he was excited to have me, but you know, I think that the idea of having a child and actually having one are two completely different things. It might sound good to you to have one, but then when it's time to actually like be a parent, it might not always. It's not like as appealing, as it might seem at first. Um, so yeah, I was sick as a baby. I had to get like my intestines were on the wrong side or whatever. So like, every time I'd eat, they would like kink up, and I would like throw up or whatever. Um, and so I had to have surgery when I was about 11 months old, and that was cool or whatever. But I think my mom during my recovery, she spent most of the time with me in the hospital, instead of my dad letting her go home and change, take a break or, shower or whatever. He went, I think, well, he was working as well, but he was also I think he went to like golf a few times while I was in the hospital, like whatever. But yeah, so it starts there, and then, obviously that's just stories I've heard. And then moving past that, when I was about 5, I want to say, my parents got divorced. And it's crazy, I still remember the day that like they got separated or whatever. We were at the beach. It was me, my mom, my grandma, and my dad and my brother. And yeah, like I remember my mom and my dad got into an argument or whatever, and then my dad ended up leaving, just stormed out on us. I don't think he even said bye. And then he stormed out, left, and then so that like I had like nightmares for a few nights after that, because I was like worried that my mom was gonna leave too or whatever. I didn't really understand what was going on. But yeah, so they basically got a divorce. After that, my dad he didn't treat my mom right at all. And so during the divorce, of course, my dad ended up keeping the house that we lived in, even though he couldn't really afford it. Um, so that forced my mom, me, and my brother to move out into an apartment, and we lived in the apartment for about a year, and then we moved into like another house. But yeah, because it took us a little while to get back on our feet or whatever. And during this, I was still staying with my dad, like I would stay with my dad for a week, and I would stay with my mom for a week, and we switch every Thursday. And, that was fine for a little while, I guess. I did have good times with him. Um, when I was younger and I didn't really understand everything. He was definitely, like, a good dad per se in some aspects. He would, um, we would go outside, play catch, whatever. And he coached me in basketball in my. Oh, it's hot in here. He would coach me in basketball in my earlier years. I think in first, second, and third grade. I want to say I played basketball, and he would coach me, and that was not good because he would always be harder on me or whatever, and be extra hard on me. And then so I would just get mad, and then it sucked because every time I get mad, I would just play better. I don't know why I was like that. And I'm still like that. If I get mad at something, I end up playing better, which I don't know. But yeah, so we kind of butt heads through that a little bit, and then I think it might have been fourth grade, maybe fourth or third grade. I had to give like a presentation at school, and I had to dress up like in a suit or whatever. And so I had to wear like a tie. I didn't know how to tie a tie or what anything like that. That'll come in later. And he basically he wanted me to wear black, like I had these black like long soccer socks. If you ever play soccer, the soccer socks are like really long. He wanted me to play in those or wear those. And I was like, I don't want to wear those. They're super long, uncomfortable, whatever. And he was like, no, you're gonna wear those. And I was like, no, I just want to wear the white ones. Which, I mean, I guess I probably should have listened, but either way, he like ended up getting like really mad. He like punched a hole in the wall, and he was like, no, I'm not coming to your thing. You can just figure it out by yourself. So, and this was like, I'm like 10 or 11 at the time, so that's like hard for me to hear. And so I had to walk to school by myself, try to figure out. I was just in the bathroom, just trying to figure out how to tie this tie, and then finally he showed up or whatever, and yeah, so that was like the first instance where I was like, wow, this guy's crazy. And I always knew he had a bit of a temperament. Like I guess you could say I was always kind of scared of him. But I mean, I guess that's a lot of dads. You're kind of fearful of your dad. But yeah, so moving past that, I guess I stayed with him 1 week. And I'd go to my mom's every Thursday, stay with her for a week. Like I said, and then eventually, I think it was sixth grade. My brother was home visiting, and I wanted to stay with him or stay with my mom for an extra night because he was coming to pick me up. And then basically my dad was throughout like my whole life. He would pretty much, well, most of my life I would be left to entertain myself, I guess, because he would like take naps every day. Instead of like spending time with me, he would eat dinner in his room. I would eat dinner alone in the living room. And he spent most of his time in the living room. Of course, unless any of his like friends or whatever came over, then sometimes he would be in the living room a little bit, or if there was something like we were watching on TV together, which was rare, he'd be in the living room or whatever. But yeah, pretty much most of the time he would go to his room. We'd eat separately, do everything separately or whatever. And then so in sixth grade, when I wanted to be home with my brother, because he was home from college for just a few days, he was like, no, we gotta go to basketball. He was still coaching basketball, so he said, no, we gotta go to basketball practice or whatever. So obviously I was upset about that. So I ended up going with him, and then that night when we got home, he just like went straight to sleep. And I was like, well, why am I even here if you're just gonna be sleeping? So I called my mom. I told her to come get me, and then that's when I didn't see my dad for like 6 or so months, I'd say. And then he ended up having a stroke. Um, so he was in the hospital, and then his I think his girlfriend at the time came and got me, or my mom might have came and got me and took me over there, and then whatever. Because I was actually at a friend's house that night, and then so I went to go see my dad, and then we ended up, I guess we worked things out or whatever, because he was also on drugs too heavily. That's pretty much like all he did, and that's why I guess he was always sleeping or lazy or whatever. And so, yeah, he was like, that's not part of my life. I'm not gonna be, smoking anymore or anything like that. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And then, I ended up going back to him. But this time, I think we did it like every 3 days. So I'd stay with him for 3 days, stay with my mom for 3 days, stay with him for 3 days, stay with my mom. And then, yeah, I worked for a while. And then, I'm trying to think, because we lived in this like house in not the greatest part of town. And we ended up moving it over to towards where my mom lived in the back of like our neighborhood. It was a pretty nice house. But I guess he eventually couldn't afford it or whatever, and so I think we got like an eviction notice, but he chose to like ignore it. So basically, what the lady did is she took all of our stuff. I don't know if she like took it, sold it, or whatever, but yeah, pretty much everything we had. She moved out of the house, and so any like clothes I had, any toys or whatever, anything pretty much I had was in I think the end of 6th grade, I guess, beginning of seventh maybe. So pretty much anything I had that was over there was gone. Um, so then my dad just didn't have anywhere to stay anymore, I guess. And I don't remember what he did after that. I think he went and stayed at for our a former neighbor's house for a little while. And he had to leave from there. So from there, he kind of bounced around. But yeah, I mean, that sucked because everything I had that was over him. Obviously, split time, my mom and my dad, so I had a lot of stuff at my mom's, but a lot of stuff over there too that I just lost and just didn't have anymore. So that kind of sucked because he made sure to save all of his trophies and like some of his stuff, but he didn't really go out of his way to try to save any of mine. But you know that's just him for you. And so moving past that, I guess I slowly stopped going to see him on a regular basis, just because you know he didn't have anywhere stable to live. I go visit him occasionally, like on the weekends and stuff. I think he ended up living at my aunt's house for um for a while, and that's when I would think I would go see him like every other weekend or maybe like one weekend out of the month or something like that, which was fine. We still had like an okay relationship because I didn't really understand like what had happened to our house and everything. Um, but yeah, so we ended up, I wasn't seeing so much, and then I think from my aunt's house, he moved into like like a room in a basement in these people's house that they'll live like right up the street from where I used to live. And so I would be able to go over and see him every now and then, or whatever. And then I guess he did um, help me get my first job. First, I guess you kind of say that because he worked at the same place in Winston, and he got me kind of a job at the one in Greensboro, where I worked there up until I moved out here. So I guess he kind of did that for me. But eventually, once he knew I had a car and was making money and stuff, he started asking me to borrow money, stuff like that. So I slowly tried to like separate myself from him a little bit, and then eventually moved out of the basement, moved into like this other guy's house, and from there he had like some heart surgery thing, and so and even before this, he was trying to like borrow my car, or borrow money, I guess you could say. Um, and so he ended up having this like heart attack type thing. So he had to have open heart surgery. Again, this is his second heart attack because he was still smoking. And yeah, uh, so yeah, he eventually once I took him to the hospital. He wanted me to stay with him or whatever, but we were getting like a snowstorm. He didn't really understand, so I ended up leaving. I didn't go visit him anymore. I went and visited him a couple of times, I guess, and like that's when everything kind of changed. I guess he got like there's just because he's not smoking, and there's like certain things with the with his whole surgery thing, and so yeah, he started acting kind of weird. He kind of was out of his own mind a little bit, and eventually he got out of the hospital. He wanted me to like come take him home or whatever, but I wasn't gonna do that. And so yeah, I think eventually the guy that he was staying with wanted him to leave, wanted him to move out. And so I went and picked him up one day, took him to get his medicine, and then he had me go take him to the tobacco shop where he could buy some more cigarettes, of course, after he just had open heart surgery. Um, so yeah, then I was kind of like, I really don't want to do this anymore. Um, I think he made me take him to like his drug dealer's house too. Maybe I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know we went to somebody's house and he went and picked something up. Um, but yeah, so uh, after that, he was still kind of like out of his mind a little bit. He ended up moving into like a hotel room for like a little while, and then I moved him over there, and then he wanted me to bring him food and stuff. At the same time, it was still my dad, and I understood he was struggling, so I did it for a little while. And I realized like there's only so much I can do because he's just going back to the same old same that he was doing previous to the surgery. And so eventually, one day, he was at a different hotel with one of his friends, and he wanted me to take him to the hospital so he could get his stitches out. He wanted me to take him. I had an 8 a.m. class in college, and he wanted me to go pick him up before my class at like 7 a.m., take him to the hospital, and go to class, and then who knows what I would do with him then. Like, he didn't have a plan. So I was basically like, no, I'm not doing that. So I blocked his number, I didn't hear from him anymore. And so eventually, he wound up in like Section 8 housing, or a homeless shelter, then Section 8 housing, and then he now he's at like a retirement type disability type home. To where I went and saw him one time. He started calling me at work, so I couldn't really avoid him anymore. So yeah, eventually, I went and saw him once, and then I guess you could say I forgot. I didn't really want to go see him before I moved out here. And so now he calls me every now and then. Half the time I don't answer. Sometimes I might just be doing nothing, and I'll be like, well, I guess I can answer. But yeah, so he wound up there basically on his own poor life choices, his poor, everything. And he tells me he's gonna come out here when he gets a car, which I don't think he's in any situation to get a car because he like has a walker and everything. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. So that's pretty much the story of my father, I guess you could say, or the lack thereof. That's I don't really have much more to say about him other than just he was pretty trash throughout my whole life. I'm sure I left a few things out. But yeah, the big thing was, wanting me to drive him around, give him money. He still owes me. He would ask my mom for money. He would like say, I can't, I'm struggling or whatever. And of course, she had me to think about, so she said, well, I'll give you some just because, I want you to be able to support our child. But other than that, he didn't really help us, pay for school supplies, pay for like I played soccer. He didn't help pay for any of those expenses or anything like that. So he really didn't help. I think he took me to one dentist appointment, and he took me to get school supplies one time, and that's the only time he's ever done that. So um, he's not great, and I just I want to end up nothing like him. That's like my goal in life is to be nothing like him. I don't want to develop his temper. I don't want to, turn into, someone that's just lazy and wants to do nothing all day. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say about him. And I guess, if there's anyone out there watching this that's a dad, we should try to be there. Try to, spend time when you can. And then, be supportive in any way possible. And, because you might be having a bad day, but your child is not gonna understand that until he gets to a older age. So you should still try to spend time or whatever you can. But yeah, that's all I really have to say for this week. This sober episode of Thoughts with DonL. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It's a little more of my background story to my child or to my life. Next week, I'm going to come up with a more interesting topic. I hopefully, might talk about, some conspiracy theories or, something like that. But I just want to get this all off my chest for now. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for me. Be looking out, for Mid High Key's newest episode, which is coming probably tomorrow when you're seeing this, probably Thursday. We got some content coming for you this weekend as well. Check out our latest Fortnite video. Jalen just released a anime video that'll be in the on the end card. So yeah, be sure to check all that out. And as always, this has been your boy Don or DonL, whatever you want to call me, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.